The cracking shield of Crimea, a story of retreat and resistance 10 years ago. The Crimean Peninsula was swept up in a storm of slogans and staged triumphs. Land taken with blood cannot be given away through negotiations, they said. Had just raised its flag over the limestone cliffs of Crimea, celebrating a geopolitical victory. But beneath that symbolic gesture, visible cracks were forming geological and political fault lines that had been quietly building pressure. Now, a decade later, Crimea no longer stands as a trophy, but as a test. The peninsula once shaped, like a broken shield in the middle of the Black Sea, has become the fault line where Russia's illusion of victory is fracturing. Each day brings new airstrikes. The Kerch Bridge is repeatedly targeted. Russian commanders, soldiers, and their families want out. What was once rare is now routine. So what happened? How did Russia's firm grip begin to loosen? How did Ukraine, once thought powerless to act, gain the strength to strike at will? In the heart of Crimea, traffic crawls across cracked highways, and viaducts still shaking from past explosions. Though accelerometers record seismic tremors from recent bombings, Russian officials insist everything is under control, because to admit otherwise would be to unravel the last thread of stability. That links Crimea to the mainland and Simferopol. Real estate offices now display desperate signs, urgent sale moving to Moscow. In hushed tones, residents whisper of armored convoys and radio jamming equipment, traveling with Sergei Aksionov, nicknamed Goblin, the Kremlin's man in Crimea. Fear is seeping into everyday life. But the real trigger wasn't a single missile or drone. It was a chain reaction, a collapse of morale, logistics, and psychology. The Russians who moved to Crimea after 2014 believed they were settling into peace. Now sirens pierce the night. Our radar stations go blind under attack. Gasoline runs short. Sugar is rationed. Smiles at pharmacies hide urgent advice. You should consider leaving. As Ukrainian resistance groups like Atesh and Yula spread leaflets, sharing the coordinates of Russian radar systems and calling for evacuation, panic takes hold. Despite the FSB's arrests, new warnings appear each day. The price of an apartment in Sevastopol has dropped to half that in Moscow. The message is clear. Get out while you still can. Before the war, Crimea was home to around 2.5 million people, 58% of them Russian citizens. But that demographic stronghold is crumbling. Over the past 2 years, Russian military families have been steadily evacuated. Ukrainian Navy Commander Dmytro Pletenchuk and Crimean Tatar leader Rifat Chubarov confirm. Each explosion forces more people to flee. Some reports say over 100,000 Russians have already left. And according to local data, the exodus continues, especially as Russia's conscription plans falter. Young men dodge the draft. Moscow, in response, is trying to replace disloyal Crimean officials with trusted Russians from the mainland. But it may be too late. The myth of Russian invincibility began to unravel when the Black Sea Fleet's flagship, the Moskva, was sunk by Ukrainian Neptune missiles. Then came the destruction of landing ships like the Yamal Azov and Novocherkassk. Airfields at Seki, Belbek, and Jankoy saw MiG-31s and Su-34s consumed by drone swarms. Even the mighty Kerch Bridge was breached first by truck bomb in 2022, then by a 240 kg drone in 2023, finally by an underwater explosion in June 2025, where over 1,000 kilograms of TNT tore through its foundations. Russian engineers insist the damage is manageable. But corrosion spreads like doubt and silence cannot mend concrete. Tourism. Once the lifeblood of Crimea's Yalta coast is dead, vacationers no longer come. Hotels stand empty, guarded only by metal detectors. More than half the reservations for 2025 were canceled. Agriculture is also failing. The Dnipro waterway, lifeline of Crimea's northern fields, collapsed after a targeted strike on the Kakhovka Dam. Crimea is collapsing not all at once, but piece by piece. The land that was once taken with blood is now being abandoned in silence. For Russia, it was supposed to be a permanent conquest, but in war, nothing is permanent. And now, the fog of triumph has lifted, revealing only the cracks beneath.